So it's time to talk about fingerings. There are a lot of keys on the bassoon, but if you can kind of understand which keys and which groups are used for which registers of the bassoon, you can really start to simplify what you're looking at. First of all, we talked about the 7 fingers that are living in home places when we talked about hand position. So we've got 1, 2, 3 tone holes up here on the left hand, and we have a tone hole, and sort of a paddle key here on the right hand, plus the pinky, which has a low F key here. This is a good time to mention the right hand. When placing the right hand on the instrument, it's a really good idea to put the second finger, the middle finger, down on its tone hole first, and then let the index finger reach and straighten out to get over to its tone hole here. And the reason is, you can see here my wrist is fairly straight, but when we lay down our index finger first, the natural tendency is to just raise that wrist and bring it in, because that's a really comfortable position coming down from my index finger. And then I place my middle finger, and then I place my ring finger. Now I'm stretching to get to that pad, and finally my pinky can't even reach at that angle. So we want to build it based on the second finger of the right hand. So we're going to put that down first. It feels a little less comfortable for the index finger, but the other fingers are now totally in position and comfortable. So we have 7 fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this is actually your totally standard woodwind set of fingerings. Think about the clarinet. So in the bottom register, thinking of your of open here as being just thumb down for the clarinet. Then you've got F when it's open with a thumb down. And then we have E, D, C, B, A, G, and low F. Low F. We've talked about how that's the low F key. So this is a 7-finger system that creates an F with all 7 fingers closed, and that's just like the shallow register of the clarinet, the low register. So that section right there is easy to remember, and those are all natural notes, starting open with F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F. Now, working our way through the instrument, we can go all the way to the bottom and start looking at our thumb keys. So before we look anywhere else, let's check out the back here. My left thumb has a lot to do. By the way, if you're looking real close, there's kind of a red spot here and some extra work right next to that whisper key where my left thumb lives. This bassoon has a whisper key lock, it's called, and what that does is it just leaves the whisper key down, which has some uses, and also just for safety moving from place to place, it lays the whisper key pad against the nib of the bocal, so it's not just out where it might get hit or dinged. So anyway, I'm going to leave that off for now, but that's not a key, that's the whisper key lock. Now, these are the thumb keys I want to talk about, and I want you to separate visually these 2 sets of thumb keys. These are the left-hand thumb keys, and these notes, these keys all the way over here are just for the lowest notes on the bassoon. So we got some really, really low notes when they're all pressed down, and then we get other notes just by lifting them up basically one at a time. There's some other chromatic notes in there, but we'll get there. Now down here on my right-hand thumb, the pancake key is just pretty much used for playing really low. It has some alternate fingering duties, but other than that, when we put the pancake key down, then we're headed up here to use these low thumb keys. So those are related as the low notes on the bassoon. These keys over here are used for higher sounds. Actually, there are 3 groups of keys over here, or 3 different categories, I should say. The first small key here is the whisper key. Okay, and that's going to be really important in our low register, and that's where our left thumb lives most of the time. The next one up is a C sharp key, or D flat, and it's used, of course, to play C sharp or D flat. And it's totally different, even though it looks kind of similar, it's totally different from the next 3 keys above it. These 3 keys are referred to as flick keys, or high A, high C, and high D keys. So those keys are used actually in the higher register of the bassoon, and the whisper key is primarily used in the lower register of the bassoon, and then the C sharp is used whenever we need C sharps. So those 3 different categories in this panel are what you want to remember. So even though there are a lot of keys sitting right here, we really just have a couple main groups. Our really low fingerings here, our whisper key here, which we use a lot, our C sharp, which we use when we need it, and then our flick keys or our high keys for some higher note fingerings. Now down here on the right hand thumb, aside from the pancake key, which is mainly for the low E key, which is mainly for low notes, we have a couple other thumb keys, which our right hand has to be responsible to play. That's why we can't anchor our thumb in to hold the bassoon. We have to be free to play some of these other keys, like our B flat and our F sharp. We'll come back and talk about what all of those thumb keys are for. Now we're back to the front. So with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fingers down, I have some other options down here at the bottom. Okay, and again, these are just chromatic notes here, an F sharp and a G sharp. And then we have some trill keys around, which I'm not going to worry about. If you see some keys I haven't talked about, they're probably trill keys, or you can look them up. Up here on the left hand, the only other extra keys we're worried about are these pinky keys right here. So we have a top one, our low E flat key, and then our bottom one is a low C sharp key for the pinky. So from top to bottom, or from the highest register down, we have 1, 2, 3 fingers, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the low F. And then if we want to keep going down, we just hit that low E, which, by the way, notice E is right under F, and that's how that works. We go all the way down to F, E, and then from there I can start adding really low thumb keys to get D and C and B flat, which is the lowest note on our bassoon. So that's a basic summary of the tone holes and some of the keys that we're going to be talking about as we go over all the fingerings. And I know I went kind of fast past some of that, and that's okay. That's on purpose. I just want you to understand the basic layout of all the keys on the bassoon. Now, as we go further into fingerings, I want you to make sure you have a bassoon in your hand. There's no better way to actually learn these fingerings than to actually do them, and even better, maybe play some of them on your bassoon while you're learning. You should also have a fingering chart, and there's a link to a great one by Fox underneath this video. It's called Let's Play Bassoon, with some other great information too, but down at the bottom is a very helpful and well-designed fingering chart. And we're going to work together to build the whole chromatic scale, one register at a time. Now that's a lot of notes, so I want you to keep in mind that it's okay to take a break and come back and finish the video later. It's definitely okay to just pause and think and process when you've learned a section of the chromatic scale. And don't expect yourself to learn all of this in a day. That's totally okay. The bassoon has a 3-octave range from low B flat below the bass clef all the way up to a high B flat, which is the middle line of the treble clef. So we have a lot of notes to learn together. Let's get to it.